Hey, everybody, we are jumping into our topic for today. Are you an ideal spouse or are you looking for one? How do you know? How do you figure out? Well, we're going to be jumping into 7 keys that you're going to want to know. So make sure that you tell your friends, tell your family, and everybody come on in and let's talk about it.
Fuse marriage. Let's have a conversation. Fuse marriage. Talk it out, work it out. Fuse marriages.
Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristin and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, transparent conversations for marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss topics that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and family to check us out. And as always, check us out on all of the social platforms.
You are looking fly in that green.
Thank you.
Just super fly.
And you all suited and booted, okay?
Just a little bit, we try to clean up. And as a matter of fact, this kind of leads me into we had posted some celebratory pictures a week and a half ago, whatever, not until you watching this. But we were celebrating, and somebody said we look like an R&B group in our pictures. I was like, what? I was like, hold on.
An R&B group?
That's what they say. Y'all look like an R&B group or something. This, that, and the other.
Maybe we missed our calling.
Huh?
We missed our calling.
Maybe, but you know what?
What?
Back in high school, I was in a singing group. It was me. It was 4 of us. Back in I grew up with, it was groups back then. Mm-hmm. It was DeMar, Crazy Legs. It was the Autry twins. And we had this singer. They invited me into their group. We were going to sing. And it was like, DeMar was like, he was like our Cisco. He had he had that. He would do all that. He'd do some runs and he would kind of coordinate together. So I might have missed it. I didn't, I chose sports over the singing group, but
I think that was a good choice, babe.
Oh, really? You never heard me sing? No, yeah, you have heard me sing.
Yeah, I've heard you sing.
You heard me sing?
Yeah, I've definitely heard it.
Yeah.
You're not bad.
I'm not bad. I love music though, so yeah. Mm-hmm. So it tempted me for a second to kind of be a part of that.
But then look at God. He just pointed you in the right direction.
Won't he do it? Yes, he will.
So I don't want to spend too much time because we have a lot to discuss today. So everybody, Fuse family, please tell everybody to come on over and check out this episode because we are going to be having some really interesting conversations and we definitely want to hear from you. So make sure that you comment, that you leave your thoughts and that we can, kind of enjoy this conversation together. So today we are talking about the quote unquote ideal spouse. The ideal spouse. Are you looking for the ideal spouse? Are you an ideal spouse? All of these questions we want to get into. So we are going to discuss the traits that your spouse must have or the traits that you must also possess.
That's good. That's good. It's going to be good. I'm excited.
Ideal spouse.
I'm excited just about the conversation because part of some of these traits that we've kind of come up with and we kind of discuss or we will discuss, it's some of the things we kind of discovered along the way, whether it's between each other or other couples, what we see, what we don't like. And kind of we try to mash up and say, okay, you know what, man, if we could bottle that type of mindset up in a husband or bottle that mindset up in a wife, wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah. So it's something like that. So
and I think sometimes when we are preparing to get married, you look at these certain things, you're looking for certain qualities. Yeah. And sometimes that's the only time that we really think about them is before we're getting married, instead of even after we're getting married saying, are we living up to the attributes that we think are important? So it's a way for us to evaluate ourselves even now.
That's right.
So I want to toss it over to you to kind of get into this, where are we going in terms of this conversation? How do we want to frame it?
All right. Before we get into the 7, we think it's important. In order you get married, I think there's one term, and it's going to be maybe a controversial term. We'll try to break it down over the next 3 or 4 minutes, whatever. But when you get married, you literally have to take on the servant mentality. And that comes from both the husband serving the wife and the wife serving the man. I'm saying the mentality of the heart of really wanting to say, you know what, I want to see the best for them. What can I do to help make that happen? I think that's the servant mentality. People, we're not talking about demeaning and this, that, and the other, somebody above and beneath, all that kind of stuff. We're saying that from the heart standpoint, I'm trying to help you as best I can to meet your highest potential.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You're trying to help me reach my highest potential, which is a servant mentality. If you don't have that mentality in a marriage, I think it's going to suffer. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Right? You may have one person that's really has that and the other one doesn't. Somebody's going to get resentful, like, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm giving and giving and giving, but you taking and taking and taking.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
You agree?
Well
you agree?
said.
You know what? I think that's the end of this. No, I'm just playing.
The show ended on a high note.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that if you don't have the servant mentality, then the marriage flat out won't work.
Right.
Because both people have to feel appreciated and that their needs and their wants and their desires are valued, and that each one of you is doing your very best to try to meet those needs, desires, and wants. And like, I remember somebody once saying, like, who can outserve the other? Like, man, I just want to do so much for you. I care about you so much. The things that matter to you matter to me, and I want us to go up together. And how do you go up? Really by going down, by submitting, by caring, because then you lift your spouse up. And then when that's done both ways and both people are sharing in that joy of serving and seeing the smile on somebody else's face or being part of their victories, then we're really elevating one another.
Love it, love it, love it. And I think just before we jump into the 7, so we got these 7 traits, right? We have our experiences that we kind of bring to the table, but we honestly, we get our reference. We are a Bible-based couple, right? And not to say we always throw scriptures out at everybody to say and the other, but there's a lot of things that we learn, pick up from. So we can't take credit for all these 7. We got our experience we're going to bring to an examples. But if you're interested, 2 Timothy in chapter 2 is where this is all going to be referencing based from. So it won't be any other scriptures outside. We'll speak outside of that. But you know what? You want to check it out? Look it up for yourself.
Okay. So as we are considering this idea of being or being pursued by an ideal spouse, we're going to jump into these 7. But I also want to say, as we've kind of framed it up, talking about serving, it also has to do with respect, ensuring that you're respecting one another, because you can do some of these things begrudgingly and doing them because you feel obligated versus feeling like serving, feeling like you're honoring, feeling like you're respecting your spouse. So that's really the baseline of having any positive relationship, is, do you respect them genuinely, not just by title, like, okay, well, that's the man, he's supposed to, or that's the wife, she runs this, but genuine respect, not snarky, not backbiting, but genuine respect. So I want to get into this first one. Is number 1, the thing we need to evaluate is, have you gotten rid of lust?
Ooh wee! There's a song, right, by 702.
Going back to the singing group?
Yeah,
okay.
702, name of the song is Certified. And the lyrics go, if you don't know where your man is and he left you at home with both of your kids, he's a certified, and you can fill in the blank if you can look up the lyrics, just that and the other, but it ain't a good term. He's a certified, he shouldn't be that.
I think we're all on the same page.
But that kind of leads into this, the lust part, right? I mean, we all have some kind of struggle, this, that, and the other, maybe in an area, and some may have this struggle more than others, right? In order to have a happy marriage, happy, successful relationship, the lust has to be kept in check. It has to be in check. Forget about kept in check, because you in check, kept in check, that's probably different. It has to be in check, right? You have to manage that thing. I remember we were talking with a pastor. This is probably going back years ago now. He said whenever he sees somebody that that might be kind of attractive, he just keep his head bouncing. Right. And I think, to me, he was telling us, like, hey, that's how I keep myself in check.
You have to explain that a little bit. So like, he lets his eyes bounce.
Yes.
Like, okay. Like,
right.
He's not fixating on her.
He's not locked in. Yeah. He ain't, oh my goodness, you know what? Look at that right there. Even in his mindset, forget about his words, of really like, you know what? My eyes and my mind are keeping moving. Yeah. So. Yeah. That's great. I mean, you're on it. I think that's one of the things that oftentimes we relegate to pornography. That we say, oh, well, if I'm not watching porn, then I'm not lusting. But it's completely feasible to be lusting after someone or an experience or something that's really an imitation of real love and real connection. And if you don't
mitigate that, if you don't stop that, then it does start to feed its way into destroying your relationship. So if that's something you struggle with, and that's your evaluation, if you say, you know what, I struggle with that, and these are the the ways that you can yes, pornography is an obvious one, but outside of that, or if you say like, okay, well, my dude or my chick, she kind of, we not together yet, but I notice these things. I notice how they are coming off when I see them interacting with other people, or I catch them at the restaurant, and they say, oh, no, it's all right. It's all good. I'm with you though. Like, I think that there's ways that you can dismiss it. Oh man, she good looking. I couldn't help it, but I'm with you. I didn't get up and go do ... But those are some signs that you might want to pay attention to.
No, absolutely. I think, especially now with technology, right? So a lot of stuff can be hidden, right? So, I grew up when we had like a physical book, phone book. Mm-hmm. That little black book had numbers in it. And you know what? You have to get rid of the black books. Y'all don't know nothing about that if you're probably 25, 30. But if you're a little older than that, you probably like, okay, I had a book where I kept phone numbers in it. But now it's like DMs. Yeah. You know what? You got your phone locked up. Can't nobody look. Your spouse can't even know what's in your phone.
That's a whole show. People have real arguments, and maybe you have too. That's a real thing. It's like, hey, at what point do you let your spouse have access, or maybe not spouse, but your partner or your future, the person that you're wanting, do they have access to your phone? Do you have a problem? Are you concerned even? And there might be some trust issues there, but what is that look like? Because I think that the little black book, that's gone away, but now people have things saved under nicknames, or that, like you said, the DMs or that sort of thing. So you have to be real careful with that.
And I guess the focus we're looking at, right, is like managing and really keeping in check the lust part of it. Mm-hmm. And the access, and we not want to go too deep into it, but people that don't have access, like sometimes we need accountability. Mm-hmm. Right, to be able, so like if I'm not free flowing with where I'm going, what's in my phone, what's in my email, like where's the accountability piece? Maybe you got somebody else, the brother or cousin, whatever, that's helping manage you in that way. Mm-hmm. But ideally, you would think your partner, the one you considering to marry or are married to, is your best friend. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't they be a good asset to help you manage that situation with yourself?
We would have to have a separate show about that. That's some good stuff. Okay. So second thing, do you pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace?
I guess we shouldn't get stuck on the word righteousness. I don't, because people may kind of like, okay, what do they mean by righteousness, right? Yeah. They got to be perfect and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. But if we just kind of break down what righteousness is and what it means, it's just the aspect of like, hey, are you pursuing the right things? Are you trying to be right, do right? Or are you like, you know what, I ain't doing right today, right? We can talk about it from a spiritual, biblical standpoint. We can just separate it. In this case, we'll separate and say, hey, are you pursuing the right things? Are you trying to be right? Are you trying to handle people right? Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why we put in there with love, peace. Those kind of go together, right? Are you pursuing those things? And as a spouse, I think we have to look at each other, right? You should be, hey, Mike, oh no, that's not very loving. I think you might have told me that a few times, right? You know what? We got disagreement, this, that, and the other. And I can't remember what it's about, but I might have been upset. And I don't know if I didn't say something right or if I didn't say nothing at all. She said, Mike, I don't think that's very loving. Mm-hmm. And I had to I didn't even respond to you at that moment. But in my heart, I was like, you know what? She's right. It wasn't. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. I had to, and you helped check that situation, that to say, hey, you know what? I need you to pursue love. Mm-hmm. I need you to pursue peace. Right. And I think the only you have this love and peace, which then of course I think it brings balance. Right. Mm-hmm. So like when you have all three of those working, like you can't be a whole bunch of something. I can't be just always angry, can't be always happy, can't be always sad. But I got this balance that hopefully brings relationship that, that we're pursuing together. Yeah.
One of my favorite in this list is peace, because you want you want to be a place of peace. This doesn't mean that there won't be times of tension or there won't be disagreements, but I want for my husband to be able to say, I find peace with my wife. You know, like, yeah, we walking through this crazy, crazy world, but with one another, we have peace. And to say to him, man, he's a peaceful place for me to land when I come home or when I have something on my heart, that I find peace. And that's something, and obviously we recognize like the divine part of peace, but also just being a person that is not contentious, a person that's not looking for a fight or an argument, that's not trying to pick your partner apart. So when you're considering marrying somebody, for those that are not married and are watching, do you find that y'all are just arguing about nonsense all the time? Are they looking for an argument? Do they just like, man, I can't be right ever in this because it's always something that's going wrong? Or looking at yourself, being reflective and saying, you know what? Am I being petty? Am I just picking for really no reason? And do I need to get myself in check? And sometimes, like I said, there will be times in your marriage where Michael might have to say to me, or your spouse might have to say, like, you all right? Like, you kind of tripping on some things. And I have to be able to say, he right. Or I might say like, no, this is actually a real challenge and it's disturbing our peace. Right. So then we are attacking the thing together that's causing tension in our relationship versus attacking one another. I know I've told the story before, but when Michael and I first got married, I had a thing about dishes in the sink, and I just could not stand dirty dishes in the sink at the end of the night. And he would do it regularly. He would like put one item in the sink. And at the time I was like, this dude knows that this is a pet peeve of mine. But he would just have a cup and he put it in the sink. And I was like, the dishwasher is right there. Or it's a 1 cup. Just wash it. And I remember just getting so mad because it was bothering my peace. And so I had to look at myself and say, is this something that matters? And that's something that, and eventually I said, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that critical. So I don't have to hold him hostage to this thing that's really inconsequential. And even in articulating that this was something that bothered me, he adjusted so that I didn't even have to say anything anymore. Because I said, this bothers me. It's really not a big deal, but it just bothers me. And then he started changing. So that kind of goes back to that mutual servanthood that we were talking about at the beginning, where I was articulating versus fussing and having a disagreement with him about it. I said, this just really bothers me. And it's not a thing. So I'm not going to make it a thing anymore. And then we came to him saying, man, it's really not a thing, but it's an easy thing to fix. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, because we talked about, righteousness, love, and peace. And we just kind of wrote down some words here, right? And maybe those are kind of be like too loose, too big of terms, right? Decency, integrity, worthiness.
Ooh, integrity.
Right? Those are, so like, are you pursuing those things, right?
Virtue.
Right. Virtue, moral, trying to be morally right. Right. Now I say try because none of us are 100% trying to be morally right. Right. But the opposite of that, right? What are you pursuing? If you're not pursuing no thing, are you pursuing money? Are you pursuing?
We'll talk about it. Wait right there. So if you're not pursuing it, so we're saying, are you pursuing righteousness, faith, love, virtue, integrity? But the flip side of that, right? You said, if you're not pursuing these things, what are you pursuing? That's you pursuing money? Talk a little bit about that. Like, how should we navigate that? Because we know we need money to survive in our day and age. So what does that look like? Is that inherently a negative thing? Or
there's nothing wrong with going after it, right? Everybody, hey, I'm trying to make it happen, right? But from a relationship standpoint, and if you single, but you maybe can manage that thing. But if you got a family, you have a spouse or a future spouse you're trying to consider, I don't think it can be your leading indicator. We kind of use that word in our technology field, but it's basically like, I don't think that can be something that'd be like, that's at the forefront of what you are saying. This is what we're establishing our relationship on. I'm gonna make it happen for you, and this is it. It ain't about integrity, making sure it ain't about worthiness, it ain't about faithfulness, it ain't about love, it ain't about peace. They on there, but that number one is about money, right? or it's about trying to get something, trying to get somewhere. We have some other things on here. Acceptance is another one, right? In which nobody never admits, hey, I want to be accepted. That's my number one thing. But people live that out, right? Where it's not about they'll do anything, they'll give in and this, that, and the other, and forego peace because they want to be accepted, want to be loved, right? So that's one you have to check yourself on. It's gonna be hard for me to check you on next. I may not pick up on it. So somebody else right from the outside the circle going to say, okay, hold on now. You just saying yes to everything. You know what I mean? This Negro ain't right. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's not right. He's not doing right. You know, I hope I ain't offend nobody by saying that, but he's not doing right. Yeah. You know, we got to talk a little different every now and again, but he's not doing right. You know what I mean? You can't keep saying yes to that thing, or vice versa. She's not doing right. You know what I mean? You got to say, hold on, can we talk about this?
I think the distinction could be, are they pursuing internal things or external things? Because if they're pursuing the acceptance and the money and the platform or the title, those are all external things that will drive not only a wedge in the relationship, they'll drive you away from some of those internal qualities because you spend more time focused on this other stuff than the things that really matter. Because if you focus on those internal things, who you are, that stuff will come out, and that's how your spouse will experience you. Because and this is kind of a sidebar, but that's also why we are advocates for therapy, and we're advocates, hey, read, journal, do those things, because that's doing the work. And when you do the work, your spouse gets to enjoy this new version of you, and you get to, even greater than that, you get to enjoy this healed place, this place from which you're able to look at yourself and say, like, man, I've outgrown some of those things. I feel better about myself. I'm more at peace. I have more joy. I feel more integral. I'm doing things differently. So I think that as you're talking through, what are they pursuing? What are you pursuing? Are those internal things or are those external things? And it's not to say that the external things don't matter, but if they are your number one all day, every day, then that's problematic.
Right. This more thoughts keep coming to my head. You sparking a whole bunch of ideas in my head, because I think this is something that couples, either current couples or future couples even, that have a struggle with, right? And I'm gonna use the word, it's fun. I want somebody I can have fun with.
Okay.
Right.
Talk about it.
And the couples are pursuing that, right? That's like the number one thing. As long as we can have fun together, foregoing peace, foregoing love, foregoing worthiness, integrity, foregoing all of that to get fun. But then the fun stops somewhere along the way, because it ain't fun. Life ain't always fun. It's some real life we all got to deal with. Like, it's just like, man. And those other things that we talking about a couple should have, a spouse should have, are a must during those difficult times. Yeah. When I'm going through it, I don't want to have fun. I need somebody that can bring me some peace and help add to my peace. I need somebody that can love me through my hurt, through my pain. I can go on and on. But like the fun, so I want couples out there that there's nothing wrong with having fun. We should have fun as a couple. We should, date nights, this, that, and that. We trying to get our date night life and getting sitters and this, that, and the other. We gotta have it. Right. It just can't be number one. It can't be say, okay, you know what? This is what the goal. I'm saying number one. This is what the goal is of our relationship. This is why I'm with you, because man, we have fun together. It's gonna teeter out. It's gonna sizzle out. Whatever term you want to put with it, it's not gonna last. Oof,
that's good. That's really good. Okay. On that, I want to go to the next one. We kind of talked about it just a little bit, but do you avoid foolish arguments?
So I think you did touch on it, actually. So, and I think every couple goes through it a little bit, right? Especially when we first kind of get to know each other. And like you said, you talking about the dishes in the sink. Somebody that's married 20 years, they like laughing at us like, what y'all, man?
That was year one. We got quickly past it.
Right. But just like people you got to grow through that situation. Yeah. But you can't stay there. Yeah. Right. Where, we arguing over just basic stuff, whether it's, picking up the kids. Oh man, you didn't got I forgot to pay the bills a couple of times. I think the gas or lights or one of them got turned off. Hey, we was in the middle of arguing. This is a real story. we was man, it was about maybe year 1 or 2. It was early in. We was upstairs. I think the kids are babies. We upstairs having an argument. Like, man, you know what? This, that, and the other. I can't believe you did that. You know what? One day the lights gonna get turned off. Bloop. The lights went out. I was just trying to be like, just, you know, pump my chest a little bit, like just to make a point. Literally, the lights went out just as I said that. Hey, the argument stopped. We said, oh, hold on. What's going on? Hey, we forgot what we was arguing about. What's going on?
Happened?
What happened? What's going on? What's going on? I'm like, babe, I don't know, man. This ain't no. It wasn't
start
storming.
Calling me babe after that.
It wasn't storming outside, sunny and everything. Early in the morning, we like, what's going on? Hey, we said, okay, hold on. Let me figure out what this is. This and I said, babe, oh man, give me my phone. Hey, I forgot to pay the bill. She like, what? Okay, well, go pay it then. Let's get it back there. Hey, the situation went from whatever it was. I cannot tell you today what we was arguing about.
You know, that's the thing about most arguments. You can't even remember.
I can't remember. But yeah, so just, I mean, we had to grow through that though. Yeah. So that's kind of something. We literally had to grow through that.
We've been through a lot of those. Yeah. But one of the things I think that's important is recognizing when it's foolish and when it needs to be fruitful. That's good. Because there are some really challenging conversations that you do need to have. There are some things that you need to address. And then there are some that are just really silly. And then you can start an argument. And we've also talked a lot about this. It's important to address some of those things instead of suppress some of those challenging conversations, because what happens is you suppress and then you end up blowing up later because it's all of those, you know, those aggressions that happened all the time that you did not address. And then there's the one that breaks the camel's back. There's that one thing. Now you're throwing up all over the place because you've been upset for the past 5 years about this same thing. So I think having those conversations is critically important. Yeah.
So I think, we're on only number 3, and we got a lot more to cover.
Okay.
But no. I'm like, I think hopefully this is helping people, because it's like, it just helps you get a different lens of like maybe how you see yourself, for one. Because I think you can't see somebody else different until you see yourself different. So see yourself, for one, do these attributes consist of how I operate?
Yeah.
Right? Because I would never say, hey, go to look at your spouse, what are they doing, how they doing? Am I doing those things?
Yeah.
And then maybe talk about it with your significant other, or spouse, or husband or wife. You know what? Can they grow into those things? Because it's a growth thing that you have to go into.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We're gonna wrap this up. Number 4, are you kind to everyone?
I think this is a big one. And I say we got it from our favorite pastor, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Not say we got it from him, but I think he speaks about it, right? Where he, in an aspect of, how are they treating the people that, that don't matter? And he's spoken on several different occasions about, hey, you know what? You got a waitress. How you handle them? The people that, you spoke about somebody that came into a room that you were working an event with, and they didn't know who you were, what you was doing, your function. You were actually kind of helping coordinate in a high level. But the fact they didn't know you, they kind of handled you a little differently until they found like, oh, you somebody. I'm sorry. And then like, hold on. To me, that's a character flaw. Not saying they're a bad person, but that's something like, okay, if you have a title, or they know who you are, or they think you know somebody, they handle you different, right? So as you looking at a spouse or looking at yourself, or say, you know what, do they handle everybody in a kind manner, regardless of who they are? Yeah,
that's huge. That could be a whole show in itself, because that's the integrity piece. And be mindful. Watch when you're on a date how they treat the waiter, how they talk to people. Do they open the door for the people? Do they just open it for you? Or is there somebody behind you that they also keep the door open for? Because those are kind of small signs on how their heart position is. Okay, number 5. Are you able to teach someone how to love you?
I look at our notes here, and I say it about myself, and I probably, it kind of fell short, at least early on. Like, and we put in here, we don't come with a manual, right? There's no like, I do, and like, here's everything I need. I don't care. I can say it, talk about it, but you don't know my history. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know my fears. You may know some of them, but like, it's so much more. You like, man, we 5-10 years later still find out new stuff about each other. Like, oh, really? You went through that? You dealt with that? I didn't know you thought like that. And some things are evolving, this, that, and the other. And to have the patience, which is really, in my opinion, reverse patience, that my spouse is trying to figure out how to love me. And not give her and go give him the honest, the openness to kind of like, hey, to share like the aspect, hey, you know what? It's going to take a little bit of time for them to kind of grow into really understanding who I am. Can I be patient enough to allow them to do that?
And what even with that, to also understand that we are also continuing to evolve. So they're getting to love us where we are, but every day we're also changing. So we have to expect that not only are they learning this piece, but they're learning the new piece. And every day there's a new layer. There's a new something that I need. And it's not as simple as like picking up the same thing from the grocery store. It's really like, oh man, they think differently about this. I thought it was this. Now we're having a different kind of conversation. Well, our kid did this before, and now our kid is doing this. How do I relate to my spouse? What does that look like? Or they read something or learned something or had a negative experience or a positive experience, and they're trying to learn all of those nuances within one another, which is what makes marriage fun. Yeah. But it also can make it challenging. And you actually said patience, which is number 6. But having patience with one another, having patience as and in different experiences, I think is a big one, because sometimes if there's something that you know or something that you want, at least me, patience was not always my virtue. And I can't really claim that it is 100% now either, but it is something I'm aware of. So I work on it. So having patience in the process, if Michael doesn't do something, I'm like, come on. Sometimes I'm just like, sir. Sometimes I might say it. Right. You might have said that. Sometimes I might say it. But also recognizing what comes easily to me, he might have never even attempted. It might not be something that comes easily to him. I know if I enjoy cooking, and if he's going to cook, the kids will tell you it's going to be one of two meals.
Hey, don't talk about my cooking skills like that. Hey, but my kids love my food though. I'm just saying. They do like it.
I didn't say they didn't. They know what to expect. If daddy's in the kitchen,
it's all about perfecting what you're capable of. You know, I need to expand a little bit. I need to expand a little bit. No. I'm convicted on that. I need to expand a little bit.
Well, praise God.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Just a little bit. You know,
we have
work in progress.
Yes, work in progress. But that's the patience part, is also recognizing, okay, they might not be able to do it as easily as I can do it. So I can't. I have to learn to appreciate the things that they do. And as long as we're both putting in effort to continue to get better, then we can't beat one another up for the things that we may not do well.
To say about the cooking though, is I can't get off of it. Lord. So like, it's really like me in my cooking. So I mean, I cook a little bit, y'all. It's not, you know, I got some things, got breakfast items, I got some stuff I can make. You know what I mean? That's hot. You know what I mean? I'm not all sandwiches, this, that, and the other. But when you have like the Michael Jordan of cooking that you got to compete against, I'm like, I can't. My kids are like, hey, we do it like mama. I can't do it like mama do it. They're like, her level of cooking is on a whole different, I can't even explain it. She don't look like but she can cook. No, I mean, you know, most people that can cook, they got a little, you know, extra.
Okay, moving on.
No, I'm just saying this, but she don't look like it because she don't look all nice and you know. But no, this woman can flat out throw down.
Thank you.
And I'm saying I gotta follow behind that. She's like, well, why come you can't? I'm like, because I can't.
I didn't mean to say it like all that.
She didn't. But I'm just saying that's how I feel sometimes. I'm sorry. I'm bidding a little bit.
Okay. Well, you do other things very well.
Okay, thank you.
Lots of other things you do well.
Thank you.
He just went and pulled up a tree the other day.
I did. For got a splinter and everything for it.
Just because.
Yeah. She said, you didn't have no gloves on? No, men don't wear no gloves. She said, yeah, they do. I said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they do.
As he was pulling the splinter out of his hand.
Yeah, sure enough.
So, well, thank you. But that, again, that goes actually to what we were talking about a little earlier, is growth. Like, you start to evolve into a better spouse. And that's why don't despise the challenges that you have in year 1, saying, I want to get to year 10. Let year 10 be the goal. Then when you get to year 10, let year 20, and then 20, because you can't possibly have all of the knowledge of that person that's been in it 20 years when you're in year 2. But that is also why we do this, and why you should read books, and you should go to workshops, and you should go to conferences, because then you're gaining some of the wealth and the wisdom that other people have experienced, so you don't have to go through that. So you can skip some steps along the path. You're not going to skip the whole path altogether, but there's some roads that you can be like, yeah, I know how to navigate this one a little bit better because somebody helped me along the way.
Yeah.
So I want to get to the last one before we close out. Which kind of goes into what we were talking about. But correct people in humility.
I think we both struggle with this early on, right? I think, and I speak about to my correction, humility, or lack of humility. I was just correct as a matter of fact, right? It wasn't. It was like, you can't do that. What you mean you can't do that? You can't. I mean, we in the 2000s, this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, she good with technology, and I'm like, why come like you don't know how to do? You mean? I ain't gonna talk. I can't tell. Like you pay bills online. Like what you mean you can't pay a bill online? And it was like dry like that, y'all. It wasn't like can we sit down and talk about it and and kind of maybe help me understand where your gaps are at. I didn't give her that. I should have, and I learned to do that. But at first I was like, what? You can't do what? Mm-hmm. And I was dead wrong, y'all. So the humility part was, drastically lacking, right? I'm speaking about, I can't talk about nobody else. You had some too, though. You can talk about what you want to talk about. Because, she's a little rough. I told her to tell it like it is.
He did.
I said it. But she should have known better, had humility, say, what, I can't tell it like it is.
It took me a little bit of time because he's like,
I did ask for it though. So
tell it to me straight. I don't need any fluff. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, she had me. She cut me deep, y'all. Hey, she cut me real deep on a lot of. I said, I can't take that. She looked at me like, why
not? You don't have to talk to me like that. I was like, I'm talking to you the way you wanted me to talk to you.
Yeah. So we all had a different struggle. But anyway, we've grown. We are grown. We grown and are growing. So it's not like, we reached this place of like, okay, yeah, we got it all figured out. Yeah. But we ain't doing that no more. Yeah. We ain't doing, some other stuff we struggling, but not that.
Learn those.
So it's levels, right? Yeah. And I think that humility part, so nobody's going to be perfect and with humility and always this, that, and the other package of stuff. You talk to my Aunt Charlene, she going to mess around, say some words and hurt all your feelings, both at the same time. Mm-hmm.
I love her.
We do love her. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? So it's just, we just had a conversation with us where her name came to mind. But this is a humility part of like, how do you handle your spouse?
Yeah.
Right. So
learning their temperaments and when and how. We always say tone, timing, and delivery, because there are some things that are urgent and that are pressing. If Michael's driving and he doesn't see a car coming, I'm not going to be like, hey, babe, I just want you to recognize that there's a car coming our direction. And I'm going to be like, Michael, move the car.
Yeah.
And then I might later have to be sorry, babe, I talked to you like that, but we had to get it together. And there are other times when it doesn't have to be all of that. So recognizing how do they need to receive quote unquote correction, because it might be a discussion. You might be the one that's wrong. You think you're correcting somebody and you don't have all the information. So ensure that you are asking questions versus attacking, because there are two sides to every coin. So these are just some of the thoughts that we have, information that we've gathered on how to become or to find or to have the ideal spouse. Let me let you close it out.
7 traits. I think they're key. There may be some other ones, right? But I think these are 7 good ones. And some people may be considering getting married. Get premarital counseling, right? Yes. If you know somebody in your local area, definitely talk to somebody. We have a course that's online that's going to help supplement you trying to just ask the right questions, get an understanding of who your spouse is, which kind of addresses some of these as well. The main takeaway, though, I think is like, hey, you know what? You got to have a servant mentality, servant heart in order to even to achieve some of these. And if you ain't willing to bend and you got to have it your way, my way, this, that, and the other, it's going to be a long road. It's going to be hard. Somebody going to give in and somebody going to walk away. The one, two things is going to happen. So ultimately, hopefully, have a servant heart. Look at these 7 traits, and hopefully you guys can maybe take something out of it and then grow from it.
Right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Make sure that you connect with us on all of our social platforms. And as always, check out our website, fusedmarriages.com, for more content and resources. Let's talk about it.
Fused marriages, let's make it last forever.